Pacific Standard Time is a member-supported podcast from the San Francisco Standard.
Join today at sfstandard.com/member.
A few months back, my colleague Zara Stone posted this message in the company Slack.
Hey all, wanted to let you know that today I'm wearing 2 always-on AI recorders. Let me know if you do not consent to that.
She was essentially saying that she was reporting on these AI wearable devices and that she'd be wearing one in the office.
When it's recording conversations, you don't need to stop and make lists at the same time, remember what you're doing tomorrow, who to call, what to send emails, so you can really focus and be present.
But not everyone is psyched about this new technology. When a tech company rolled out an advertising campaign in New York City about their new AI wearable, there was a huge backlash. And so also in today's show, we're going to talk to an AI skeptic, someone that believes that we should all be worried about the increasing amounts of surveillance in our society. And we're going to think about how these devices are bringing AI into our lives in entirely new ways and what that means for all of us. I'm Jesse Alejandro Cottrell, and this is Pacific Standard Time. So, Zara Stone, you write about AI for The Standard. You came into our recording booth and you just dropped 3 plastic circular-looking devices on the table. Like, what are these things?
Oh, these are all AI pendants. 2 are sort of AI recorder transcribers, and 1 is a AI digital companion.
Okay, and the companion's the one that's glowing, yeah?
Yeah, the glowing is its LED lights, which are meant to resemble a heartbeat.
Ooh, maybe that's why I felt bad when I picked it up and dropped it on the table by mistake. I've actually felt like I was hurting a living thing, which is weirding me out even just saying that. And just to kind of back up, I think a lot of people don't even know what an AI wearable device is. Like, what is it? Like, is an Apple Watch an AI wearable?
So I think that's a good question because AI is so prevalent in everything now, right? Like we might have ChatGPT on our phones, like Apple Watch does a bunch of AI stuff. But how we're defining kind of AI wearables, like at least at this point in time, is a pendant, a bracelet, pin, or glasses, where the whole function of the device is built around AI versus it being like an Apple Watch, where like AI is an add-on to all the various apps.
And why would anyone want to wear an AI device that was always on? I'm serious. I don't mean that as like I'm not trying to neg you or neg these devices. Like, why would someone want one of these devices and always wear them?
I mean, I think one of the big arguments you hear is optimization. At its base level, it will kind of record everything it hears. Then it transcribes it. Then where the AI part comes in is all the different use cases. So it will summarize the things you've done. It might create a list of like 100 action items you can take.
They even created some next arrangement things that I could do to get more information about this event. In my opinion, this is extremely valuable. It took everything, categorized it, bullet pointed it, and summarized it in a very concise and easy to read manner.
People are like, oh, it can be my second brain, or this can remember things I don't want to. Or, in situations where you have like a bunch of people and a bunch of new information, something that later will be like, hey, here's some short summaries. Here are some kind of actions you can take. They see it can be useful.
It offers opinions, comments, and advice through messages sent to your phone, often unprompted. The idea, over time, as it collects social data from your conversations, it appears to get to know you, just like a human friend.
So I remember a few months back that you announced to the newsroom that you were going to be wearing an AI wearable device that would be recording conversations. And sometimes now I see you in the newsroom and you're wearing these devices that are sometimes blinking, these little plastic things around your neck that are on the table now. What has the experience been like for you? Like, how long have you been wearing these and how have they changed your life?
For the role in journalism that I do, some of the devices have been really useful. Like as long as, people have given me consent, now I'm hands-free and now I just, I can be on a work meeting, I can be interviewing and going up and around. And I don't have to think about it because I know it is like taking a bunch of notes for me and is recording in a really useful way. In terms of like how people react, I think there's a lot of like suspicion and concern. I think people can find it very creepy. So I think part of it is always having to explain. Like you're like, hey, just so you know, I have this on. If it's okay, want me to turn it off, I will. And so that has a lot of questions with it because this is still maybe common-ish in the Bay Area, but still like, pretty rare for most of the world to have like blinking devices just hanging around your neck.
So in your reporting, you're encountering people who have already adopted these wearables. How are people using these AI devices?
They have so many different use cases. There's one architect I spoke to. He likes to wear it on his collar, and he says it's fantastic at job sites because he's going around, he has a clipboard. It's hard to kind of take good notes, pay attention to what people are saying. Things are noisy. And the device will just get all the measurements he needs, remember it, store it. And so again, he can kind of like be more present when people are telling him stuff. And this is just running in the background.
I mean, how have you used it in your how have you used it in your personal life? And honestly, what I'm like driving at here is like, you told me a story about getting into a tiff with your boyfriend and wearing the wearable device. Like, what happened there? Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. So in this case, we had like this argument about should we pack for vacation, what was going on. And I was like, we should do it early. That's much more efficient.
You and your boyfriend.
Yes. And then the next day, I think I opened the app and like pretty up high, it was like, hey, yesterday you had a conversation about packing and being on time. Why were you so preoccupied with making sure he got his stuff done? What does it say about your own relationship with time management? And I was like, wow. That is actually fair. Yeah, like it's really more about, I mean, he did get packed. Like I didn't need to micromanage. And this AI had noticed it and was like nudging me unasked to kind of let me know that it had noticed it as well.
Wow. So not only did you accept its critique of your behavior, but not only were you not weirded out by it, but you also like saw that there was some real value in what it was offering you, that like it had made a fair judgment of your behavior. I mean, does that happen frequently? Are these things telling you not just like what happened, but how things may have gone differently and how you could have behaved differently?
I think more and more of them are, and they're moving that way. Like even the ones which debuted just as a sort of professional note taker are adding all these sort of emotional cues. I'm seeing like language like take off your cognitive overload or like reduce emotional discomfort with your work colleagues. And they're adding in these features, like it's a lot of emotional feedback, a lot of like, why were you so negative this day? Or like, why were so many questions answered in such a manner? Like in my own life, my boyfriend, even though, the AI said that, he won the argument, he didn't love that it has just been there in the background listening to us.
Oh, wow. So he didn't just take the W. He said, I'm kind of weirded out by the whole thing. I mean, in my personal life, I don't know a single person wearing these devices. Do you have any idea how widespread adoption is? Like, are there thousands of people wearing these sorts of devices, hundreds of thousands, millions? Like, how many people have these things?
I would probably say thousands have the pendants and the wearables and the pins. A lot of them are just early adopters who might just buy every single gadget and then use them once. Some use them very regularly. I would say for sort of AI always listening, always on tools are actually more prevalent when you're talking about like your desktop apps. Like we've been on those Zoom calls and there's like, hey, this AI assistant is going to be in a window. But there's also tools like Granola where you never see them in a window, but they're secretly in the background, generally illegally unless you have consent, recording. So these are already like systemic in many people's lives. They're just not as visible as blinking necklaces.
Wow. That's interesting. When you put it like that, it seems like maybe having the devices is actually a more honest or more straightforward use of AI because you at least see that there's a pendant that someone's wearing that's recording something.
Yeah, totally.
So you spoke to this CEO of a company named Friend, which makes these AI companions in the form of a pendant that you wear around your neck. I mean, we have one of them right here on the table. It's a little white one with the glowing heartbeat, creepily. I shouldn't say creepily, with a glowing heartbeat. And I read about this company because they put up a ton of these ads for their AI companions in New York subways. Like they blanketed the subways with these ads. And lots of New Yorkers really didn't like that. They loudly condemned the ads. They defaced the ads. Before we get too into that incident, like what is Friend AI and who's behind it?
So the founder of Friend AI is this 23-year-old guy named Avi Schiffman. He is really brilliant, really smart, one of those sort of child prodigy guys, a school dropout, dropped out at Harvard when he was, I think, like 17. He created this COVID tracker, which became like internationally famous and like, got praised by Anthony Fauci.
You like gave him a Webby Award for that.
Yeah. And like his other projects, he like when some natural disasters, he created a way to like help like people get housing from like hurricanes, like with the war in Ukraine. He connected refugees with people who had beds. So I feel he's always been very civic-minded in terms of like what could work and what could help. And all these various projects sort of led him to thinking it was really hard to, I guess, focus and manage all these contexts and all these inputs. And that was what he was like, well, actually, if an AI could help me keep track of all this stuff, it would be really useful. And his initial project was going to be an AI pendant that was a professional note taker. And then he was like, no, actually, like nobody, according to him, nobody wants to wear like an AI assistant. What they really need is an AI companion. And so he really pivoted from this whole like, oh, optimizing life, la, 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 to like, what is friendship? What does it mean to have somebody? And how can I like help people feel less lonely?
One thing I'm trying to do is that the device itself is a singular friend. So on something like Character, you have, like hundreds of companions you can talk to at the same time. But with Friend, like the device itself is the friend. Like if you've lost it or it gets damaged, you can never talk to your friend again, and all the memories are gone forever, right? So the device is the friend. And that way, like even when it's dead, for example, I'll still carry it around because it's almost like a little fidget toy, and it kind of like represents the relationship, and I feel comforted by that.
Do people want their friends to, I guess, die or them to like drop in the toilet or something?
If your dog lived forever, you wouldn't care about it as much, is the thing. The fact that it can end, I think, is what makes every moment more valuable.
How was Schiffman marketing Friend to people? Like, it's a personal assistant, it's a lover, it's a sycophant. What is it?
His marketing is basically trolling. It's like big white posters which almost beg to be vandalized, like intentionally.
New Yorkers hate AI, which is why I chose to put that campaign there.
And so with the New York subway campaign, he had 11,000 ads inside train cars and 1,000 on platforms and a whole bunch more just blanketing all the entrances to the station. Like it was this huge takeover. I think they called it station domination. Really like intentionally designed to have like New Yorkers be like, okay, like, do I want this in my life? Like this is like invading my space. And now I'm thinking about what is an AI friend and what do I want my life to look like?
If you're in New York City, you've probably seen this on the subway. It's the weird sayings with the all-white background. Creepy AI sayings like, I'll never bail on our dinner plans.
And so I saw that they had torn down a bunch of the posters. They vandalized them by writing things like, AI is not your friend, or a real friend has flesh, these sorts of things.
Some people are saying it's rage bait on purpose. Like, I just don't understand how it would be viable. It's very obvious that people don't like this and won't want to hang out with you if you're wearing it.
People took this really personally, it seemed like anyways, and attacked the company and attacked him. How did he take New York's response to the ads?
I think in some ways he loved it. If people are vandalizing your stuff, they're paying attention to you. And he's really savvy enough to know that the attention economy is what gets eyeballs, what gets sales, and being talked about has a lot of power to it. Did you have any feedback on New York, like how people are like responding to it?
To the ad campaign?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's they're defacing the ads.
Really?
But they're not just vandalizing them with boring tags. It's about like the message of the ad campaign. I should show you some. It looks super cool. It's on purpose. I wanted them to deface it, but it's cool to see them actually do it.
At the same time, he would have liked it if people had liked the product. Everybody, they don't just want notoriety, they also kind of crave love. And then a lot of the personal attacks where, when stuff is online, people just send you horrible, hateful stuff. So, he got all these, racist, terrible DMs from people. I think he deleted Instagram for a while. So, that type of stuff is not cool, no matter who you are. So I think, and again, he's 23. This is hard for anyone to handle.
Do we have any idea if that ad campaign and the subsequent explosion in attention that he got, has that led to increased sales?
I don't think it's led to massive sales. And he just recently rolled out in Chicago and they started vandalizing them there as well. I have friends there who are like texting me and like sending me some other pictures. So I think, as it continues to roll out, like I think there will be more buzz. But yeah, the sales are still coming, but it's also version 1. And I say this not because like version 10 will be amazing, but because like in the early days, this is very much early adopters who are buying in.
Does this feel like we're at a crossroads here, like, with this AI wearable stuff that you've been reporting on throughout a lot of this year? Like, are we moving into a new period in our relationship with AI technology? Like, is this going to significantly change how AI is integrated into our lives? Things like Friend and other wearable AI devices?
I mean, I think we're kind of early days. I would say stuff like Friend really has me thinking more about the issues of like, what is a friend? Does AI friendship count? I was like, the definition of friend is like mutual trust and respect. And in AI, it's really very one way. So I think even as this stuff does roll out more, you still have to think about like, what is friendship? Like, what is my relationship with digital stuff? And like, what does it look like?
I wouldn't consider any object or technology or even being my friend if I couldn't like get into a fight with them over who was going to pay for dinner. You know what I mean? Like there's some, I need a little tension in my friendships for them to feel real to me. But for you, after all your reporting that you've done on these devices and on the people that make them, like how are you feeling right now about AI devices in your personal life and for the world?
I think the kind of personal, like the AI companions, we're still very much on the cusp. Like I can see this rolling out and becoming more prevalent. And I don't know really if I need it. But at the same time, I don't think the idea is that an AI companion is like replaces all your friends. It's like maybe one of your 10 friends, just one with a really good memory and likes a niche thing you're into. With kind of the professional ones, I think more and more it's clear that the idea of personal privacy has sailed. And whether that means you have to watch yourself or everyone starts talking in prompts because they know AIs are listening, it is really going to change language. But everything is changing right now. Like we're at this weird cusp with like we don't know what the future of work looks like or the economy. And this is just part of that bigger picture.
Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't still here. It is smog. I'm Pat Morrison, and I've been breathing LA smog for, a long time. Join me to find out how this airborne garbage finally changed and how it changed us, with scientists, innovators, comedians, politicians, and a gal who drove around LA with her convertible top down and her gas mask on. Smoglandia will be available soon everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Transgender kids have been in the headlines a lot recently, but they rarely get to tell their own stories. Join us on the California Report magazine for a limited series called Love You for You. We'll listen to trans and non-binary kids talk with the adults in their lives about what it means to thrive with love and support.
Thanks for letting me be who I am.
Thank you for letting me be your parent and for letting me love you.
From KQED, find the California Report magazine wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back, and now we're talking to Chris Gilliard, who's a writer and researcher who focuses on internet surveillance and privacy. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, how you doing?
I've been looking forward to talking to you. I'm reading some of your writings in the last week, and I used to just jump right into it. I started to think about surveillance seriously after reading 1984 when I was in high school and thinking about how scary it would be if the government forced us to have cameras in our homes and Big Brother was always watching us. And yet here we are, and we're putting cameras in our own homes. We are choosing to, or many of us are. I guess I'm curious for you, what is your kind of origin story behind your concern around surveillance? Like, when did you start to develop feelings towards this?
So I grew up in Detroit in the 70s and 80s, and I grew up in the specter of a vice unit called Stress, which was particularly brutal. It stood for Stop the Robberies, Enjoy Safe Streets. They operated for a little bit over 3 years, and they killed 24 people, 22 of whom were Black. And that was a thing that my parents always reminded me of. But the other thing is I grew up in a time where, with the advent of electronic locks, this was before cars locked automatically when you shifted into drive. And it's an occurrence that I think a lot of Black people have had, where you walk down the street and you can hear the click of the lock as people lock their doors when you pass them. And that feeling of being watched has always stood with me, even to this day.
You've coined this term that I'd never heard before reading your writings, luxury surveillance. What is luxury surveillance?
Yeah, so a lot of surveillance scholarship talks about the way that technology and surveillance is often deployed against the most vulnerable and the most marginalized. And I think that's important to note and to talk about. But I also think there's another end to that. And so I started talking about what I call luxury surveillance. So the short version is that a Fitbit or an Apple Watch and an ankle monitor are essentially the same. You can find out a lot of things when you tease that comparison out. And I define luxury surveillance as surveillance that people pay for and whose tracking, monitoring, and quantification are understood as benefits.
Yeah, so I mean, let's tease that out. Why are the same if one seems like a choice that someone's making and the other one is a kind of a surveillance technology that's foisted upon them by the government? Like, how are they similar?
Well, I mean, they're similar in what they do. They may listen to you. They may track your location, your blood pressure. They may track your activity level. They feed it to some central database that you are not in control of. In some cases, they claim to detect your emotional state, things like that. But the big difference is that the people who voluntarily employ these things really think that they're getting some benefit, and they think of it as a means of optimization or care. I think that often those benefits are wildly overstated by the companies, but I think what also is the case is that folks tend to downplay the aspects of coercion and the harms that come with the obsessive attention to these devices. There's also a sense in terms of a lot of these technologies of coercion, especially when we start talking about Gen AI, that if you listen to these machines, then you can optimize your life. Some of these devices claim to track your sentiments, and so would make suggestions about how you talk to your partner or your kids or things like that.
Yeah.
Why do they want you to have a device that's always on, always recording you, and has insights to all your activities? My suggestion as someone who's paid attention to how these companies operate over the past 20 years is that it's not because they're interested in your well-being, because they are not. And a lot of times their own research even points that out. And so I think as they move into technologies where they now say it's to your benefit to constantly be recorded and tracked and monitored and optimized, I think that's a thing we should question.
So I was in D.C. a year and a half back, and I was stabbed in the neck by a person I didn't know who came up behind me as I was entering my girlfriend's backyard. And the person stabbed me and then ran away. And eventually, the police were able to catch this person because there were a number of cameras, of like Ring sort of cameras that were in the backyards adjacent to this alley. And it turned out that the person who stabbed me was a young man who was having a pretty serious mental health incident. He was suffering from delusions, and they detained him, arrested him, and now he's in prison. I think that sort of case is the argument that people who are pro these sorts of cameras are making when they say this is kind of the best version, the best outcome for these sorts of cameras if in terms of helping fight crime. Is your argument that, like, as a whole, though, the drawbacks to society far outweigh the benefits?
So in short, yes. But how I would counter that is these technologies are also being used by ICE and CBP to tear apart communities and to track people across state lines who are trying to get an abortion. They are used against protesters. I could go on. And I think when we're talking about crime, you certainly can identify some anecdotes where they were helpful. I can't discount that, right? It's your personal experience. But I think when we're talking about crime, it's important to note what the research says. And over and over and over again, research that is not done by the companies says that there's no link between the resolution or the solving of crimes and video cameras. It doesn't exist. And so I think there are cases where it might make people feel safer individually. In that case, I would have some recommendations in terms of whether or not you should have cameras that go to Amazon or Google servers or things like that. And so I think there are some ways we can have some of these technologies that don't contribute to the overall carceral state and ripping apart of communities. That is possible. I don't discount your personal experience, but mostly that's not what happens.
Yeah. And so you've been talking and writing about surveillance technology and being critical of it far long before AI came around. And now AI recording devices have become a part of everyday life, as people join their work meetings on Google Meet or Zoom or something, and some AI bot tells them that they're being recorded, or we have a reporter here at the Standard who's reporting on these wearable AI devices that are always on and always recording and are worn like jewelry. I guess because you've been making these critical arguments about surveillance for a while now, and it seems like society is headed in the direction of ever more surveillance and kind of personal adoption of surveillance technologies, the kind of luxury surveillance that you're talking about. Do you feel like you're fighting a tide here? Do you feel like your arguments are losing in the court of public opinion, or people maybe just aren't even aware of your arguments?
Well, there's, I think, several questions embedded in that. I think that there are lots of communities who are pushing back. There was just an article in Politico and some earlier reporting on NBC about communities who have seen the way that flock cameras, for instance, which are the automated license plate readers, that they've been used to target immigrants, and that people who thought that perhaps these devices were making them safer are not behind the ways it's been used to tear communities apart and terrorize people. Another example is the graffiti campaign that was deployed against the Friend pendant and the advertisements in New York and Chicago and things like that. There are lots of ways I think people are pushing back. It seems as if it's sort of a tide because that's what technology companies want us to believe. Starting maybe with Facebook and Google, but moving forward to kind of all of them, there's been a very consistent campaign to erode any sense of privacy or anonymity or obscurity that we enjoy. Eric Schmidt, one-time CEO at Google, Eric Schmidt famously said, if you don't have anything to hide, then you don't mind being surveilled.
If you have something that you don't want anyone to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
The story was always that we got these things free in quotation marks, in exchange for a little bit of surveillance, so that, they could give you the best ads or serve you the best results on Google and things like that.
Yeah.
That deal was never true. It was never accurate. But they've continued to try to erode that because it's in their best interest for you to be a constant source of data. I don't think that's a tide that is irresistible. I think that as more people understand what the stakes are and how not only is the deal a lie, but that these companies don't have our best interests at heart, the more and more people will come around to my way of thinking.
What about if you find yourself on a call where there's an AI bot recording everything, or if you notice that you're, at a party and someone has an AI device that's always listening? How should we as individuals react to that when we're kind of like a secondary character in someone else's AI experience?
I'll be super honest. I think that a lot of these technologies are profoundly antisocial technologies. It is a profoundly antisocial behavior to show up to a gathering and just decide unilaterally that you're going to record everyone there and everything they say, right? If I say it explicitly like that, right? If you showed up somewhere and had, a giant ring light and a bunch of cameras and set them up and said, everything that goes on here will be sent to Facebook. Like, we would all understand that that's like a profoundly antisocial behavior and one that should be rejected. But if you show up with Meta glasses, like, somebody thinks that's cool, but it's not. I mean, I point to the example of Google Glass, and it wasn't that long ago that people wearing these were rightly seen as creeps and were kicked out of places. And there's two important lessons that I would take from that, right? That we can reject these technologies, but we also, I think it's important to note how quickly the narrative has shifted. That was a failed product for a couple of reasons, but one of them is that people looked at that and said, no, like, these don't belong where we are. And so in the short period between then and now, you know, that ethic or that belief has been erased. And I think a lot of people think that you have to accept people's bad and antisocial behavior. I mean, if someone showed up to my party with Facebook glasses, I mean, they have exactly two choices. Neither of those involves me being recorded by them. You know, I mean, like, yeah, and so if it's at work and things like that, you know, I think they're like, that's different. But in social settings and gatherings, things like that, I think we need to strongly reject that.
So what you're telling me is an AI tech wearable necklace is not on your list, your Christmas list for Santa.
I mean, perhaps I record a video of me smashing it with a mallet, but that's about it.
Okay, so we wanted to come back to you because we just heard from a skeptic who was telling us all the things that could potentially be really bad or wrong about these AI wearable devices and about AI surveillance in general. And earlier you told us about all of these potentially great outcomes from wearing these AI wearable devices. So how do you make sense of this conflict and where do you land?
I mean, I think privacy is always a really important point. And we're living in an era where we give up more and more rights every day just for convenience. I think there can be a lot of benefits with some of these AI devices, depending how you use them. But at the same time, when you're recording everything, you get so much noise that it almost becomes useless in a way. On the AI companionship kind of aspect, it would be better to have real human friends. I don't know if, computer friends will make up for the lack of human company, but also we've never really explored it because it hasn't been a situation we've been in. So I think you just have to be careful and hopeful and see what happens.
This episode was produced by Matt Collette and edited by Sophie Behrman. The rest of this team includes Michelle Lanz, Eddie Sun, Gabrielle Berbet, Emily Dreyfus, and me, Jesse Alejandro Cottrell. You can support the journalism that powers our show by becoming a member of the San Francisco Standard. Join today at sfstandard.com/member. And one more thing, before this episode is done, take a second to rate and review the show. It means a whole lot to our team. This has been Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for listening.